Get the strap, get the strap, get the strap. Giselle gonna get strapped down tonight.
Bestie Robin, we just saw the unfortunate news yesterday that he's been let go from his position. Any response to that? What do you kind of think of that whole situation, unfortunately?
I think, the coaching world is tough. I think, he was in a tough position. They did have a losing season. And I think that these universities kind of look at it as like, you're as good as your last season. But, Juan, if anything, I know about him, he'll bounce back and he'll be fine.
All right, guys, let's talk about Juan Dixon now, because he has some behind-the-scenes drama now playing out that has nothing to do with his hit reality show. According to new reports, he has been fired from his coaching job at Coppin State University. So this comes on the heels of Juan's cheating scandal with wife Robin Dixon.
Do you feel like the reason why Robin and Giselle we're trying so hard to bring Charisse into the group this season was to deflect from Juan's infidelities?
What's up, Robin?
Hey, so I'm here with Ashley, and Ashley's telling me that Karen has come to her and said that you have a girlfriend that has long blonde hair and that you walk the streets of Georgetown holding hands with her. Robin. A blonde hair. You said she's like old like Karen?
Robin, I'm about to hang up because this is why I don't like this.
But Robin, this week you admitted on your podcast that Juan had been involved with another woman during COVID and that you knew about it ahead of season 7 and that the situation had been, quote, handled.
Yeah, Real Housewives of Potomac, Robin Dixon addresses allegation of Juan Dixon cheating. The Real Housewives of Potomac cast member Robin Dixon recently admitted that her husband Juan Dixon did in fact have an affair with a woman while they were engaged, and that is one of the reasons why their wedding was delayed. Last week, a woman came forward alleging that she had a relationship with Juan during the pandemic, and she literally had receipts to prove it. Ooh, honey. Yes, for the starless Robin Dixon, child. The side piece was going to become famous off of them, but are they famous?
Who? Robin and Giselle?
No, I think she's talking about her.
Her and her husband.
Yeah, her and her husband.
I debated on whether, addressing this because, I usually, I don't know, I don't really give attention to stuff like this.
Right,
and
true.
to people who want attention. But I figured there were a lot of lies and things being misconstrued.
Yeah, you know what? So first of all, when I watched that episode, they sent it to us before the reunion. I died laughing at the sketch of the blonde in Georgetown. These actors are hilarious. It was so funny, but it was just, what was even funnier to me was that Karen, those words actually came out of Karen's mouth.
There's so much I know about Robin Dixon, and she knows I know, including Juan's other woman.
I'm like, you don't think you sound ridiculous right now?
I've heard it. That's what the blogs were saying, but I have questions.
Oh, he was walking around Georgetown holding her hand, and I don't know if I forget what they show on the show and what actually I remember being told in person. So I don't know if they said that. Maybe they did. But they say he walked around Georgetown holding her hand. And I'm like, that would be the dumbest man alive.
So what I will say, so for y'all, I'm sure all y'all that are listening don't really know exactly what we're talking about because you don't, live on Instagram or whatever. TikTok, Twitter, whatever it might be. Young lady came forward talking about she and Juan dated during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And she shows this hotel receipt with his name on it.
Right.
Okay. That's that's legit. I don't know. I mean, that's
the premise of the allegation.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, what I want to, so what I want to say, first of all, I was aware of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Before we filmed season 7.
Second of all, Juan also has been a public figure in our area since the 2000s because he played in the NBA. He played for the Washington Wizards. He played, at the University of Maryland, won a national championship. He's not that stupid to go to Georgetown and walk and hold somebody's hand.
In that he's in Georgetown with her all the time. They walk down the street holding hands and stuff.
So I already knew it was bull crap. But I just wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth. Like, hey, this is what they're saying.
Hello?
What's up, Rob?
Hey, so I'm here with Ashley, and Ashley's telling me that Karen has come to her and said that you have a girlfriend that has long blonde hair and that you walk the streets of Georgetown holding hands with her. And a blonde hair. You said so she's like old like Karen?
Rob, I'm about to hang up because this is why I don't like this.
Now, the situation when it was presented to me was handled, was discussed, it was handled. It was something we had to work through, you know. It was not something that it was just like, oh, okay, whatever.
Oh, yeah. No.
However, there are a lot of things that need to be cleared up with what's being said with what allegedly happened, which did not. Yes, Juan was an idiot and communicated with this woman on Instagram, you know, because I mean, whatever. He's bored. He needs attention. He's, it's the pandemic, blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
However, they did not date. He did not fly her anywhere.
Right.
And there is a reason why his name is on a hotel receipt, which I will share on Patreon.
Yes. Boom.
And the reason is not because he asked her to come and was volunteered to pay for this hotel room. I will say, just with respect to Juan and I, we dealt with the situation. It was definitely something that, we had to work through relationship wise. Maybe that's why the wedding didn't happen when y'all wanted it to.
Oh, really?
I mean,
let's discuss.
You feel like Juan gave her the story that she has regurgitated to all of us?
Definitely.
Okay. And then did Juan ever tell you that there was any sort of like real relationship with Robin when you guys started talking, or was that clear to you when you guys were talking? Like, did you know that they were in a like relationship, or did it?
Very clear that the relationship was for TV. Like, it was for the fans. It was a paycheck. And that was just their obligation, right? And they needed to do what they needed to do pretty much for TV. And he made it clear that he does have that respect for Robin, but it was not a real relationship. It was just not like a real loving relationship. It was just more of co-parenting and, kind of best buddies.
So then with that, it's clear that he didn't want to tell her the real story for whatever reason, even though you would think that they would be fine with it if it's just for TV. But now, one last thing. She had also mentioned that you sent Juan a request via Zelle or something for $4,000, basically, I guess, insinuating that you were asking for the money in order to not go to the blogs or something to that. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, it's a little outrageous, and I wish she would have put more thought into her statement, because I am in Canada. I am a Canadian citizen. And in 2023, we don't have Zelle. We don't accept Zelle. I can't request Zelle. I don't have access to that on my phone. There's other means of sending money for Canadians, and Zelle just is not an option. And everybody knows that.
You're on a reality show about your life.
Yeah.
And infidelity has been the hot topic of the season. And you've played a part in the conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you stay silent through the season?
And for and we touched on it briefly earlier, and let's dive into this next bombshell that came out. Like, we saw the episode when they're in Mexico and Karen starts talking about her lookalike that Juan Dixon is supposedly dating, right? And the first thing, literally, and I'm sitting watching with my wife, Dev, and I was like, dude, are we just doing this again? Like, is this the new thing? We're just going to keep throwing husbands under the bus. little did I know. And like, we did talk about it because the phone call between the two of them, I was like, that was weird. Like, the reaction from him was weird. How she carried herself was kind of weird. Like that, okay, there might be more to this. And then fast forward, I didn't even see it. You messaged me and you said, yo, can you believe this shit? And I was like, what happened? And then I clicked. I was like, oh my God, she actually did know that he was cheating on her. And it was with a blonde. So like, did she look like Karen? No, not really. But like, what the fuck for you in that moment? Like, knowing that Giselle's been sitting on this all season, she's been trying to find a way to like develop a storyline. And her way of doing that is to call you a scumbag, to make you painted in this picture that you're this gross dude that's doing stuff behind closed doors.
We talked about that in Celebrity Dish before, and more importantly, it comes after a lawsuit against Coppin University alleging one of his assistant coaches sexually assaulted and blackmailed a former player. Juan Dixon spent 6 seasons with the program.
Robin, Juan has been in the news lately because a Coppin State player of his on the team came to him to report being sexually harassed by the assistant coach, and he failed to report it. What can you tell us about this, and how's it affecting your family?
This is Ibn Williams, a hooper at Coppin State. His head coach is Juan Dixon, seen here, the former Maryland Terrapin star and NBA player, plus Lucian Brownlee, director of player development and director of basketball operations, who is accused of catfishing, then blackmailing his own player, Ibn Williams. Dixon was informed of what went down and failed to take action against Brownlee and support his former player, Williams. Brownlee harassed, tormented, and essayed Williams before publishing intimate material he had obtained from the student.
The things that have been alleged, the wrongdoings that have been alleged that Juan supposedly did are not true. And I know that he handled the situation exactly the way I would want somebody to handle a situation for my own children.
You're not taking away what the victim is alleging about the harassment.
I'm not disputing the catfishing and whatever else went on between those two young men at all. I am saying the wrongdoings that they are saying that Juan did not happen. And it's just unfortunate that Juan was kind of used as clickbait to really push this story.
Dixon was informed of what went down and failed to take action against Brownlee and support his former player Williams. In the complaint, Williams says he received messages through his socials from a woman. Williams reportedly was enticed into sending images of himself to this person of a sexual nature he believed were private and in the context of developing a romantic relationship, the lawsuit says. With the exchange of photos and videos, Williams was exploited by the woman into sending more, or else she was going to publish them. With threats of Williams losing his place on the team, plus his tuition, room, and board payments, Williams felt he had no choice but to continue responding to his tormentor. This is when Brownlee, a fellow player of Williams's at the time at Coppin State, revealed to Williams that he had also been blackmailed by the same woman, of course put in quotes. The blackmailer then ordered the two men to record themselves having sex and send it to said tormentor. At first, Williams didn't oblige, but with fall semesters beginning, he complied per the suit. Williams' attorney is Daniel Epstein of Epstein Ostrov. And this is where Epstein reached the eye-opening conclusion. By information and belief, the blackmailer was Coach Brownlee, the complaint says. Williams, with unaliving himself on his mind because of how much he was tormented, went to his family and basically said there is rampant drug use when they're on the road. So Williams' father meets with Dixon, and Coach Dixon basically says he's helpless to address the drug issue. Fall of 2020, Williams returns to campus and the blackmailing continues. This time, Williams, though, didn't respond when he returned to campus, and that's when the material used to blackmail plaintiff was published and revealed to members of the team, staff, and the public, the lawsuit says. Per Epstein, those messages, because Williams didn't respond, apparently, were then blasted out to the masses through Instagram. That's when head coach Juan Dixon, even with all this being made public and Williams not being in the best frame of mind, Dixon demanded Williams attend practice. The complaint would then state Dixon admitted that Brownlee was mentally ill or otherwise emotionally imbalanced, and that his history was known to the coach and the athletic director plus the school. Thus, head coach Dixon was also named in the complaint for allegedly failing to support Williams by taking appropriate action upon learning of Brownlee's actions. In addition, Coppin State University was also named after officials retaliated against Williams by reportedly withholding his financial aid and housing, allegedly blaming the athlete for the negative media coverage in connection with the incident, which stemmed from Williams asking for an investigation in which, according to the suit, a lawyer for the university further traumatized Williams with questions about his sexual past and orientation. It's cringeworthy, the questions that he was asked. Epstein would go on to say. For Coppin State, they would violate their own set of rules and code of conduct. The complaint stated the school, whose policy on sexual misconduct prohibits R-word, sodomy, quid pro quo, stalking, sexual exploitation, coercion, and retaliation, took no action to remedy the situation. Here are my closing thoughts. Per the Grio, Juan Dixon admitted that Lushan Brownlee was mentally unstable. Why hire him in the first place without vetting this candidate for a position on your staff? That falls on Juan Dixon, which of course will then lead to trauma for Williams, Williams's family, and any kids that Williams will have.
So guys, it hasn't been the best start of the year for him so far. Wisdom, do you know any more about this than we've heard so far?
No, the information about the blackmail and the allegations, that's, I'm not going to say old news, but we knew about that in the past before the season even started. And you know, coaches get fired all the time when they don't have a tremendous amount of success. It's just sad because, and I'm not talking about the reality show. I'm just talking about Juan in general because he's such a big name here in Maryland with the Terps winning the national championship. Such a great basketball player and an icon in the sports world in this area. So to see all of this fall on him or come into his world with a lawsuit and then getting fired and then the reality TV. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's unfortunate.
Do you think he's going somewhere big next?
I mean, it could be. I mean, it's possible because, again, he is an icon when it comes to basketball. But this is a guy who has, he's got a family. He's got kids. He's got young boys who are basketball players. So, and all this stuff starts to play out, and they're old enough to know what's going on. So that's the unfortunate part when you start hearing things like this. Yeah.
All right, and there's been scandal on the reality show, and now you know, in his own life.
Get the strap. Giselle gonna get strapped down tonight.